Good morning. Today's lesson will be on arrays. I have a list here of 10 items that we'll cover, beginning with creating arrays. To get started, let's open up a web browser. Let's open up our JS lint, because we'll be doing some linting. I'll check my Node.js, because we're going to use Node today. Let's open up your brackets. Let's go to our command prompt. Let's make a directory called arrays. Change into that folder, and let's open up file, open folder. Save that. Arrays. Oops, I need a file in there first. Touch program.js. This will be the file that we will use. Now I should be able to file, open folder. Don't save that. Okay, now I think we're ready to go. We'll open up program.js. And you can see that our first item is to create some arrays. So let's do that. We start with the keyword var as usual. Let's just say we're going to create a list of numbers. So the variable name would be numbers, and we'll assign that to, let's say 1. Okay, now one thing is we want to lint this. Let's see how this lints. I want you to see that it's very important to put your spaces between here. So when we're creating arrays, we want to put our spaces in here. Down here, like so. And I'll lint that. I think I'm being I put the space in the wrong place, excuse me. Okay, so now that is the way it should look. Let's copy that back over here. So again, to create an array, we open and close our square brackets, and then we start putting the elements of our array inside, separated by commas. And so there's a 1, a comma, and a space, a 3, a comma, and a space, and so on. We can also create another variable array, and we can put letters in here, for example. Excuse me. Like so. So we have an array. This array has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items in it. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items. If we were to want to display an item in our array, we would address it as such. We would start, these are index values, so they would start with 0. So numbers 0 would give me the 1. Let's confirm that. Indeed it does. Okay. I could also say console.log letters, and let's say I wanted to pull out the E. The E is 0, 1, 2. It's in position 2, or index 2. These are index based, and so if I were to, indeed I would get 1 and an E. One thing you may see from time to time, and this is wrong, and we don't want to do this, you don't want to use the keyword new or like this. It's not that it won't work, it's just that it's not good practice. There's problems with it, and it's not the best practice. So, and I'm just going to demonstrate that it will work. cars 2 would be 012. That should be the Chevy. And indeed it works. You can see the Chevy right here. However, this is a no-no. Please don't use this form. And indeed, let's just lint it, and you can see that expected that instead of saw a new array. Our linter says don't do this. Okay. So we won't do it that way. We'll modify it. And you may see that other people use this form, and you can just know that they made a mistake. Okay. So this is the correct form. So now we have 3 arrays, and they all 3 work, and they all 3 lint perfectly. Let's see what's next here. So we don't want to use the new array. Arrays can contain objects. This array contains numbers. This array contains some letters, and this array contains some strings. So strings, and numbers. There's nothing keeping us from, for example, doing something like this. Let's do this. I'm going to create a variable called doIt. I'm going to set it equal to a function. I'm going to create a function. Like so. So I have a function. I've created a function, and I've defined it to a variable called doIt. So I could call this function doIt just like this, if I could spell it right. And what I would expect to happen is it would simply display the words hello world. Let's check that out. And you can see I've made a mistake here. Oh, I see this right here. I made a mistake right here. Let's put the Chevy back in there. Now you can see that I displayed, I said doIt, and doIt did the console log right here. And then I displayed numbers 0, letters 2, and cars 2. So things are looking fine. I just create this. This is simply a function, and I've called the function, and the function displays hello world. Now, what we can do is you can store a function in an array, because functions are objects. So I could just say doIt right there. Now, we're going to switch over here. Console.log cars. Just say console.log, and it'll show us the whole cars array when we do that. You can see it says Subaru, Ford, and a function. There's a function there. What I could do is I could extract that function out of there. I could say variable x equals cars 012. Let's have position 2. And then guess what I can do? I can do this. Pull that out of there. I pulled the function out of there and then called the function. So now what I would expect is that there to see the console, or I would expect to see hello world and then the whole cars array. Excuse me. And then indeed I do. I see hello world, which is me calling my function here. I defined this function and threw it into my array, and then I pulled it back out, pulled the function back out, and ran it. That's a pretty powerful idea. So other idea is that arrays can contain different types of variable types. So like, I'm not saying we recommend doing this. So we can, like so. So here we have a number and a string in the same array. So if we were to simply display numbers again, you can see that certainly I've got a number and then a string, a number, and a string, and a number. Okay. Okay, we also may want to be able to find the length of a string. That's easy to do as well. There is a property called length. The arrays always come with a property called length, and you can simply call on it. Now numbers should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items, and indeed it does. So you can see I have the length. Okay, the next item that we'll talk about is sorting arrays. If we set up our code like this, we have letters that are certainly not in alphabetical order at this point. What we'll do is we'll log those letters, send those letters to the log, then we'll sort them, and then we'll see what they look like afterwards. Let's try it. Oops. Let's see here. What you can see is that they are out of alphabetical order the first time we display them. After we sort them, they are now in alphabetical order. One gotcha is that sort is a method. So if you were to treat sort like a property, kind of like this, you'd see that they don't change at all. So that's kind of a mistake, and there's no error. So you're going to want to make sure sort is definitely a method. Let's go ahead and try sorting the numbers array and see what we get. Numbers. Let's see what it does to our numbers. So what you can see is we have 1, 3, 7, 2, 6, 8. Now we have 1, 2, 7, 8. Numbers come first, and then S comes before T, basically. So we got both those sorted. Awesome. Let's learn about pop. What we can do with pop is, let's go ahead and clean this up. What we can do is say letters dot pop. We can assign that to a variable called last item, and let's see what that ends up being. Like so. So you can see it's the A. We popped the A. The A came off the end. Let's see if so you can see what happens. It actually did come off. What we'll do, just to prove it, is to console.log letters. So we're going to show the letters array again. We define the letters array with these values. When we call pop, the A comes off. We assign A to this last item and display it. When we show letters, the A is going to be missing. And sure enough, it is. There's the A, and it's not in our array anymore. So pop is a cool thing. Push is another interesting method that we have. Let's do the same thing. What we can do here is we can say letters.push. And so what we can do is push on another letter. And so what you're going to see is that, let's do a console log right here. When we do this console log, we're going to see a U after that A. Then we're going to pop. The U is going to get taken back off and stored into last item and displayed, and then letters will be its original value. And so one thing. Oh, I didn't save it. Let me save it. Hang on. So here what you see is the U got pushed on, and I displayed. Then I popped the U off and displayed it, and then I displayed the array again, and the U is gone. So push and pop. Push are two cool methods. Changing existing items. Let's say that we wanted to take and replace that Z with a Y, for example. Well, that's fairly simple to do. What we do is we say letters, and we simply address into it. That's Z is index 0. And let's say we wanted to set it to Y. Let's see if that works. Well, and sure enough, the first position is a Y now. So we can change, once you create an array, you can actually change the values of that array by simply addressing into it with the index. Sometimes you're going to be looking at a variable and you won't really know if it's an array or an object or a number or what the data type is. there's a interesting method we can use called isArray. And so we start out with this, the array object, and we say isArray, and then what we do is we put the array name that we're interested in finding out whether it is the object name or the variable name in here. And so let's just console log that out. We'll say, is it an array? So we can kind of see what it's going to do to us. And so is an array is true. So letters is definitely an array. Let's do something, let's prove the opposite of that. Let's say variable x equals 5. Now, if I put x in here, I would expect it to be false because I know x is not, definitely not an array. And indeed, is an array comes up and says false. Okay, that's it for this lesson.